Hello there, YouTube. Good morning, happy Saturday, and good luck, first of all, to all of you people here in Minnesota going out here for opening fishing, which is today. Good luck. I am, in the meantime, bringing you a video on a helmet that this one is a bit weird, but it's still incredibly interesting, and by a bit weird, I mean this specific model is a bit weird because it's a bit of a transitional one, which actually makes it kind of incredibly rare, because there's really two models that are much more common, and both of those are also incredibly rare, that are on either side of this helmet. What we're talking about today is the Danish M23 helmet. Now, this is the Danish M23 transitional helmet. This one would be coming out in the late 30s. It's got a couple little simplifications, and it would be, basically superseded by the M23 40, which is a German made helmet under occupation. It would have a little brass disc here on the front that would say who it was issued to, what unit and stuff like that. And the one before this, the original Danish M23, would have a huge crest on the front, a big Danish crest on the front. And this is the transitional one because obviously it is still the Danish style liner, albeit the simplified liner. I shouldn't say simplified because it's actually a more costly to produce liner as far as materials, but it's a better liner than the original M23, and it's missing the badge because they realized the badge might be kind of an unnecessary thing. But these were not made for too long before obviously the occupation occurred, where Denmark capitulated in all of 9 hours basically after the German invasion. So like I said, the original Danish M23 would be the same exact helmet, but it would be kind of a different paint texture, and it would have a big, huge badge on the front. And when we look at the liner, I'll explain to you the differences between the liner, between the 23 transitional, and the 2340, which were a little bit different. But this helmet initially came out due to the responses of World War I, as with most countries adopting their first steel helmets. They decided that Denmark decided they needed to have a helmet after World War I, and in 1923, after testing a bunch of designs, most of them of German origin, they tested the Stahlhelm. They decided to kind of change it and retrofit it a little bit more, and you get this thing that I call it the Manta Ray Helmet, because it kind of looks like a stingray, because it's got these big wings that look on either side, and as you can see, it kind of is this very wide helmet. But it's a very interesting one because it's a very conical design. As you can see, it's almost vertical, but it's almost the same angle all the way around. It's a very conical design of helmet, which is a kind of rarer design of helmet. They worked quite well. You don't really see a lot of these, but for their time, and what they were expected to be going up against, it was a very, very good design for the time, very lightly tested, because obviously you see a lot more countries go with different designs, and eventually most of these designs would be superseded by the very angular and the very round design, because it would work much better and much more effectively at deflecting debris and shrapnel away from the user of said helmet. So but the M23 would remain in use. It would be adopted in 1923. You don't see them in any numbers actually until kind of the later 1920s start to make their way out. The first time this helmet really cuts its teeth in combat is, like I said, the German invasion of Denmark during World War II, which lasted all of 9 hours. Where you could see these transitional models and the 1923s with the badges being used against the German invasion force. And then, like I said, afterwards, Germany, not wanting to throw anything away, would just continue making these helmets, but with a little brass disc here in the front to be able to see who it was issued to, what unit it was issued to, and stuff like that. And that would be the 2340. This helmet would basically serve all the way up until the adoption of the M1 style of helmet here in the late 50s. So it's a very long-served helmet, not a ton of them made, kind of hard to find, really, really desirable by collectors, because it's a very interesting helmet. There's really no other helmet out there that looks like this one. No countries copied it, nobody really influenced this helmet to a degree. It's a very unique design, it was quite long-lived, obviously, from 1923 until, you know, the late 50s, and then even then until the M1s can supersede it, you know, so you probably see this helmet kicking around in Danish arsenal until about 1960. So 1923 to 1960 is quite a long time for a helmet to serve without any really major changes to it. So it's a neat design. So now we're going to flip the camera around. We're going to take a look at the liner. I'm going to explain to you the differences between the M23 liner, this liner, the transitional liner, and the M40 liner. So I actually have a video on the M40. I no longer have an M40. I did sell that to a collector, another collector, to help fund the channel and stuff like that. But I do have a video on it if you would like to go back and see that. It is still going to remain up. I unfortunately can't do another video on it because I don't have one. They are incredibly rare. So just so you know, but if you do want to see what the M40 liner would look like, the German occupation version of this helmet, feel free to go check out that video as well. But meantime, we're going to flip the camera around. I'm going to explain to you kind of some of the differences here in the liner and everything like that. And we will then flip the camera back around after that, and I'll try the helmet on. You'll see how it gets to look being worn. I'm going to tell you how it fits and how it finishes, and how it kind of moves around on the head, how it sits, how it distributes its weight, and all that other good stuff. I'm going to simulate going prone with it, and all that other good stuff, so that way you can actually get an experience to what the average soldier would have thought of this helmet. So stay tuned for all of that. Alrighty, so here we are again. This helmet does not want to sit up, obviously, because of like its really conical shape. But here we have the liner of the Danish M23 transitional helmet. Now, as you can see here, just a simple chin strap with a buckle. It's a steel buckle, a bunch of little keyholes. As you can see, the leather on this one was very, very dried out, and I hydrated it and then I waxed over it because I wanted to preserve this. So that's what this kind of whiter finish is. It's this finish that I put on the leather to keep it from deteriorating anymore. But as you can see, this liner was probably stored like this for an incredibly long time, and it just sat. Which is why you see these very heavy creases along the actual where the suspension would be connected to the shell. But it's a very, very kind of simple liner, as you can see, very German inspired. The original M23 liner would have been made in multiple pieces. So this liner is all one piece, and it's stitched here at the back. Okay, it has some reinforcement stitching around it, as you can see at 4 points, kind of coming from the temple areas. You can see these kind of T's stitched into it. That's kind of to help reinforce the leather to keep it from cracking and stuff with extended wear. So you see that at the 4 quad points of the liner. You can see up here it is stitched here together in the back, but it's all one piece. Now, the original liner would have had a sweatband, all right, and then stitched to that sweatband would be all these tongues. And they decided that wasn't durable enough. It tended to be as the acids and stuff in the human sweat would kind of eat away at the seams and stuff like that. It didn't distribute the weight as well. And then having that edge on the sweatband tended to kind of cause some discomfort to the soldiers, so they would switch to this kind of one-piece style liner, more like the Germans did. Obviously, with the like M35 and stuff like that, you would see kind of one seamless piece of leather like that, where it wouldn't have an edge of the leather to rub against your head. It is adjustable here with the drawstring at the top. As you can see, these kind of little bronze and brass things are starting to corrode because they're turning green. You can see the Danish stamp on there, the CF. Now, it's very, very hard to see, but if you look kind of here in between the liner and the shell right back there, you can see these kind of leather pads. Now, that would be used to kind of separate the suspension from the shell, and it would be used to, like, obviously create a bit of a buffer zone in the event of an impact, and it allowed them to have multiple different liner sizes to fit soldiers' heads and stuff like that. I'm gonna see if I can see here. So I don't know if you could see in there, but there it is. There's the liner, which is a very heavy, thick leather band, like the early German, like M16 style helmets, and it is held in place with a series of split pins. And now these split pins, as you can see, are all the way around. There's 4 of them holding the helmet in place. A lot of times they're not perfectly straight on. They're just kind of offset a little bit. You can find some of them, but they do tend to be not perfectly symmetrical on the helmet. They tend to be kind of, either too far to the left or too far to the right from where they're supposed to be. This one's pretty close, but if you have one and the rivets are kind of moved around, that's not uncommon. It got the job done, so they really didn't see any necessary need to get it all just perfect, because it all just holds the liner in place. So you can see it kind of askew, where oftentimes the liner is not perfectly lined up with the back of the helmet. It does have a strap here for connecting the helmet to your backpack for when you are marching, so you do not need to carry it or put it inside of your backpack. It stows quite easily, and the circumference isn't really adjustable. You'd have to get a liner kind of issued with your helmet that would fit you, but it was very easy to change because, like I said, it's just a bunch of split pins. So you just bend the little prongs out, pull the rivets out, the split pins, drop the new liner in, push the split pins back through, and spread them back out, and you could have a helmet that would adjust to you very easily. Now, as you can see, this one is in very, very good condition, which is why I probably won't sell this one unless it's for a bunch of money, because, like I said, this is an incredibly rare version of the M23, and they weren't made for that long. They were only made for 1 or 2 years before the invasion of Germany, and then they would obviously quit making these for making the M41s, which had a bit of a different kind of liner setup and stuff like that. Like I said, I have a video on that if you are interested in the German occupied ones that they would give to like guard units and like air guard units and stuff like that. Rear line troops would get these, and police and peacekeepers and stuff like that. So, but we're gonna flip the camera back around now, throw this helmet on, even though this liner is a bit too big for my head, because this is one of the larger sized ones. This is probably for like a size 60 head, or like size 61 head, which is very large compared to me, considering I wear like a 57 or a 58, depending on how they run. Which is even more rare to have one in this large of a size and this nice a condition, and a transitional model. That's pretty goddamn hard to find. So like I said, this is an incredibly rare piece. It's one of the more rarer pieces in my collection. But we're going to flip it back around, try it on here, and see how it fits, how it feels, how it distributes weight well, stuff like that. So stay tuned. Alrighty, everybody. So we are back here with the Danish M23. I'm going to put this bad boy on now, and we're going to start talking about it. I got to adjust the chin strap here. Got to be very careful with this chin strap, because like I said, this one is very dry. It was stored very improperly. So we're going to put this on now, and we're going to see how this thing feels, being very gentle with it. You do not want to ruin a piece of history if I can help myself, so we're going to be incredibly gentle with this helmet, because I don't want to crack or strain the leather any more than I have to. But so as you can see here, this is what the Danish M23 helmet would have looked like being worn. It's actually surprisingly good for your vision. This helmet doesn't obscure a lot of vision. Basically, it's just kind of up here in the front. My peripherals, I have pretty good peripherals to my sides, obviously kind of lower down with these little bars. They kind of get in the way, these little flaps on the side. But for the most part, I could see a fairly good amount with my peripherals. Hearing, though, so I'm basically touching my earlobes. This helmet would obscure your hearing. As you've seen in my videos, I do like to check this type of stuff, because these helmets, obviously with their liners and stuff, they do kind of reverberate a little bit. They do catch a lot of sound waves. This is an unvented helmet. There's no vent holes in this, so there's no way for pressure to escape from this thing either. So it would damage hearing quite easily if there was obviously a hard impact around this, or an explosion going off near you or something. And it was able to get underneath the edge of this helmet, depending on the angle it was coming from. It would damage hearing quite easily, but if it's not coming from this kind of underneath angle, it would protect your hearing quite well, because of, the shape of the helmet and the way it would deflect sound, and the fact that it is actually covering your ear canals. It would make it harder to hear orders and stuff like that, so you could see pretty well out of this helmet. I could see where it would have some issues with hearing, but this is a very, very kind of early design of helmet. The modern combat helmet at this part had really only been around, for 8 years or so. So it doesn't surprise me. This is a pretty common feature on a lot of earlier helmets, where they weren't really thinking about this type of thing. It was kind of new technology. So the chin straps are pretty standard. It feels like a leather chin strap. The helmet isn't you know, super stable. It does move a little bit, but a lot of that has to do with this fact that this helmet is not my size. It is a larger size. So had it been a size closer to mine, it would probably feel and fit a lot better. But there is a lot of movement in this helmet. Because of the chin strap and the stability and how much this thing weighs. It's actually very incredibly easy to move this helmet front, backwards, you know, sideways. I just rolled it off my head there with basically, you know, no effort. But that's also a very common feature of an early design of helmet. So, but this helmet isn't very stable at all. But it offers a very good amount of coverage, as you can see, an incredibly good amount of coverage. This helmet not only covers a lot of the overhead debris from like raining down on you, such as dirt, you know, wood, stuff like that churned up by artillery, which was the experience of World War I, which is why the Brody did so well. But it doesn't offer a lot of horizontal protection, kind of like the Stahlhelm did. The Stahlhelm did an okay job from above, not as good as the Brody, actually. A lot of people don't know that. The Brody was better at protecting you as debris falling from above, which is why the Brody was the shape it was. The trench and the parapet protected you from the front and the sides, but the Brody was designed to protect you from above. So it was a very cost-effective way in doing that. The Stahlhelm was much more forward-thinking, and it wanted to protect from more angles. But this is a really good mashup of both worlds. It's a very wide helmet, a very wide flared rim on it to protect you from above, as well as from the sides and front and back, from debris and stuff like that churned up by artillery. So now we're going to kind of turn around here, show it to you from different angles. When I get to face the wall, I'm going to look up as high as I can to simulate going prone to see if the rear of the helmet would bite or interfere with, you know, winter garments, body armor, stuff like that. Even though a lot of body armor really wasn't around at this point in time when this helmet was being used, it's still something, you know, to consider as far as winter garments would go. They would obviously add a lot of bulk to you. Backpacks would add a lot of bulk to you that your helmet could potentially interfere with equipment-wise. So we're going to do that right now. So this is obviously the Danish M23 from the front. This is the Danish M23 from the right side profile. This is the Danish M23 from the rear. And now if I look up, this helmet very easily bites. You can see this hoodie here would simulate kind of the extra loft by winter garments or a backpack or something. This helmet does touch pretty easily. It tends to, obviously if it was to hit something, it would ride forward incredibly easy. That took almost nothing, and it obscures my vision. And I don't know how good a better fitting liner would do, but do, like I said, consider that this liner is not for my size. It's for somebody with a much larger head than mine. So I don't have one in my size to check this, to check if this would happen for the same fit, if it would rock forward as easy with a liner my size, but the shells would all be the same size, so it would still touch even if the liner was my same size. So, and then this is the left side profile of the Danish M23. So, hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you find this a very, very cool, very, very interesting helmet, because I find it a very, very cool, interesting helmet. Not a lot of people really consider Denmark as far as, you know, military collecting or history or anything like that goes, especially from, you know, the 1900s, as they didn't really do a whole lot, and what they did do didn't really last all that long, unfortunately. But hopefully you still found this helmet very cool. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you have a new thing to pursue in your collection. If this is a very, very neat piece that not a lot of people really seem to know about. So it's a really, really cool piece to have in your collection. And it stands out because it's a really weird shape, as you can see. So thank you all for stopping by. If you choose to support the channel, I will leave a link to the Patreon down beneath. If you want to do a one-time donation through PayPal, that is on the banner of my channel. If you would like to do that, it all goes a long, long, long ways to support the channel. If you do choose to support the channel through Patreon, you do get to be a part of the Discord, or as I call it, my cult, which is cool. So if you've ever wanted to join a cult where you get to learn about a bunch of cool, neat stuff, and we talk about more than just military history in there. We talk about food, cooking, help each other solve problems that we're all having and stuff like that. and whatnot. It's a very, very cool place. And the first drinking stream where I'm going to sit down, clean some guns, have a few drinks, and talk to my Discord members is going to be later today at some point. I'm not sure when, so if that's something you are interested in joining in, you could always, for as little as $1 a month, join the Patreon. And you can leave anytime you want, which is pretty neat. If you choose not to support for quite a long time. Obviously, more money is appreciated because it does allow me to do stuff like get better filming equipment. And I'm going to need a new computer here pretty soon because mine is literally exactly a decade old. As well as I got entirely Patreon money, bought a 4K webcam for live streaming. It's bought me editing software, which you're now seeing in this exact video. So that all goes a long ways and all goes back into the channel. So if you choose to support me, there's a couple perks here and there for that type of stuff. So thank you all for stopping by. Hopefully I can see all of you in the next video. And hopefully, you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.